Good morning, comrades. It is Tuesday morning, starting a little bit late. We did an abbreviated show today, but we're chock full of content. Be ready for this one. What's going on, folks? Oh, guess who's here? It's Flick. He decided he wants to join the show. He wants to be a part of it. Say hi to Flick, the world's most aggressive cat. He will not be denied. If I could fight all day, he will end up on my lap some kind of way. That's what Flick does. That's who Flick is. That's the kind of cat that he chooses to be. Like it or not, he's going to be there. So what's going on, everybody? Tuesday morning, we had a great interview that ran on WHIV. Come on, Flick. Great interview that ran on WHIV this morning and last night with Ben Burgess. There's Flick's butt. He is the author of Canceling Commuting While the World Burns. We talked a lot about the development of a emotionally intelligent, mature left. You can check that out on. You can find the stream from last night on our YouTube. You can also, you can also get his book. I got the book ordered from Red Emma's, which is a bookstore. It's an anarchist bookstore in Baltimore. And they actually sent a really nice little note that said, "Oh, thank you for buying the book," and all this other stuff. And it was like cut into like a little heart. It was very cute. You can get all that information about that on Ben's website, benburgess.com, and all that good stuff. Jeez, he is He is really going for it this morning. He is not being denied. Look at this guy. Look, there's his butt. Look at that. There's Flick. You weren't ready for that, were you? You weren't ready for cat porn in the morning. Anyway, we got G Wolf in chat. What's going on, G Wolf? He was there with us last night with the Ben Burgess interview. It was a great time. It was fun. It was good. And yeah, so how's it going? Got started a little bit late because recording went a little bit late into the night, and then with editing and uploading, I was just up way past my bedtime. So pardon me for that. I hope you have it in your heart to forgive me. But here's some news, folks. I got some news for you. I got a little bit of news, a little something to read, something to talk about, something to get us through our day. And let's start with a nice video. So this is a new. So we love to talk about the PRO Act on this show, and well, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Our buddy Ryan Kekaris just put this up about worker misclassification, which is a important part of the PRO Act. So let's take a look. And Ryan, when he reads it, says, these are the faces of worker misclassification in this country. The PRO Act would be the most sweeping civil rights legislation in my lifetime because it would end a system of horrific exploitation that affects millions of workers. So, yeah, I got killer allergies too. So one of the things is about the PRO Act is that it bans, or it has a strict set of tests that would determine whether or not somebody is a employee, like whether or not they qualify for benefits like unemployment, or they would qualify for medical insurance, things like that, and or if they're also payroll taxes for Medicaid. No, I mean, I'm sorry, for Medicare. All these sort of really important things. Essentially the PRO Act would make it so it's easier to make sure that people qualify for these benefits, and in that case, they're not qualified as their own independent contractors. And well, here's the video. Let's check it out.
Tengo muy en mi corazón es esto. Aquí en los Estados Unidos la esclavitud fue abolida hace más de 100 años. Y ahorita toda persona que viene a trabajar y se somete a este tipo de empresarios, está viviendo en una esclavitud porque no tienes derechos. Y si hablas, quédate callado. Tú no tienes derechos, quédate callado porque si no te voy a correr. Y te corro y no tienes derechos.
Impotente, no puede hacer nada. Si no trabajaba fines de semana, me amenazaba como no trabajar en toda la semana o hablarle a migración.
Yeah, that's another one of the things that happens when workers sort of have a problem at work. They will literally be bullied by, they would like not get paid or whatever by the boss, and they would be essentially like, the boss would come and say, what are you going to do? You know, we'll call ICE or immigration if you don't have status. So that's another huge part of the problem, is that people are being like literally leveraged for their like against they're having their immigration status leveraged against them on the job, which is absolutely completely unacceptable.
En un cuarto, cuando él llegó y me agarró mis sentaderas, entonces yo grité, ¿qué hago? No, pues no podía hacer nada porque hago algo, me corre del trabajo, y ya no tengo trabajo. Aparte porque yo no tengo documentos, no tengo nada para yo poder hacer nada.
Y el patrón se aprovecha en eso porque saben dónde vive, y todos tienen el número de teléfono y los amenazan con que, voy a deportar, voy a hablarle a migración o al ICE.
Íbamos a trabajar 60, 70 horas y nos pagaban tiempo normal. Y pues algunas veces en esa compañía nos querían pagar hasta con pintura. Desgraciadamente nadie hacía nada hasta que conocimos a unas personas que pertenecían a la Unión y fueron los que nos apoyaron con eso.
mi esposa falleció hace como 10 meses ahorita. Entonces ahorita tengo dos hijos, uno de 2 años y medio y el otro pues, ya va a cumplir 1 año. Nos habíamos salido del COVID, es positivo del COVID, entonces tuve que descansar por 1 mes, ¿no? Y ya mi esposa también ya estaba a punto de dar a luz, ¿no? A mi esposa, entonces ella se tuvo que ir de emergencia, pues ya nunca más, una vez que ella salió de mi casa ya nunca volví a ver. La primera semana que empecé a trabajar con él, entonces ya como que me empezó a pagar así, muy atrasado, pues a veces una semana me pagaba y otra semana no, y yo estaba necesitando dinero, tenía que pagar mi apartamento, tenía que pagar mis babysitting, pues a quien cuidaba a mis hijos. Y pues creo que esto lo que me hizo él es una injusticia.
Lo que dejó de pagar esta empresa es aproximadamente unos $18,000. $18,000 que dejaron de estar en mis arcas. Entonces, obviamente es afectada a mi familia. Definitivamente nosotros somos una fuerza laboral. Indocumentados o documentados, somos una fuerza laboral que existe hoy en la actualidad. Nos han tenido en la sombra. Y por estar en las sombras han...
I mean, can you imagine? Like he basically got cheated out of $18,000 by his boss just by virtue of like being leveraged against his immigration status. That's absolutely horrific.
Han abusado de nosotros.
Pues es algo feo porque, pues, tú sabes, nosotros estamos aquí para ayudar a nuestras familias a trabajar.
Entonces tú, por muy buen trabajador que seas, si tu trabajo hable por ti, muchos de los patrones, al saber que tú eres indocumentado, ellos causan un temor en ti por ese lado. Yo en esa compañía trabajé 9 meses, pero había muchos que trabajaban por 15 años ahí, y yo pienso que todo ese tiempo que trabajaron, así lo vivieron, hasta que hicimos ese reclamo.
Yo tengo papeles, soy ciudadano americano, y él no quería pagar, ni no quería la W2, quería pagar nomás cash, porque no es justo eso. Porque si lo dejan, van a seguir haciendo lo mismo. Si ya se le hicieron a mucha gente y ellos ahorita están disfrutando de la vida, no, mejor que se haga lo justicia.
Entonces lo primordial es eso, no tener temor. Y si muchos tienen la información, difundirla. Y que sepan que no importa el estatus legal, que todos podemos hacer algo, hacer un reclamo, algo.
Nice, good video, good stuff by the Painters Union, International Union of Painters and Allied Traders. Yeah, and that's, I mean, once again, we need the PRO Act to make sure that that this kind of thing doesn't happen. There are ways that you can find more information about the PRO Act, passtheproact.org. You can sign up for phone banking. You can do all kinds of really great stuff to get this thing moving forward. So there you go. Good Lord. Let's see. I do have a couple of other stories to get into today. Let's see here. Oh, this one's making me lose my mind. This is about a story in Miami. It is a private school. And like, I think that our school system, like the teachers in our school system specifically have like worked really hard and been extremely like super accommodating to like get people back in school and things like that, and working with the reality of COVID, getting back in the school situation. I think they were forced into a horrible situation by by school districts in places where they didn't remain virtual, and even remaining virtual is a really horrible situation. But here's a private school in Miami citing completely false claims that bars vaccinated teachers from contact with students. So if you have a vaccine, you cannot be in contact with kids. So like, what? What's going on here? Let's read. A private school in the fashionable design district of Miami. Oh, that explains it. You got anti-vaxxer, like new age moms or whatever that are behind this. That explains the whole thing. The fashionable design district of Miami sent its faculty and staff a letter last week about getting vaccinated against COVID-19. But unlike institutions that have encouraged and even facilitated vaccination for teachers, the school, Centener Academy, did the opposite. One of its co-founders, Leela Centener, informed employees, quote, with a very heavy heart, that if they chose to get a shot, they would have to stay away from the students. What? An example of how misinformation threatens the nation's effort to vaccinate enough Americans to get the coronavirus under control. Ms. Centener, who has frequently shared anti-vaccine posts on Facebook, claimed in the letter that, quote, reports have surfaced recently of non-vaccinated people being negatively impacted by interacting with people who have been vaccinated. Excuse me? Even among our own population, we have at least 3 women with menstrual cycles impacted and having spent time with a vaccinated person. Repeating a false claim that vaccinated people can somehow pass the vaccine to others and thereby affect their reproductive systems. And they can do neither. So these people are like literally concerned, not that the virus will spread and like affect the pulmonary systems and respiratory systems of people. That's not the problem. The real problem is if you get the vaccine for that virus that isn't real, that you can essentially infect people's menstrual cycles and reproductive systems. Wow! Why you got to jump behind me and scare me like that?
I just wanted to point out that they're worried about the reproductive cycles of children.
All right, my producer decided to sneak up on me and say it's about the children. Okay,
But that's creepy.
It's very creepy. It saved the children shit. In the letter,
Children's sexual beings. It's disgusting.
yeah. In the letter, Ms. Centener gave employees 3 options. 1, inform the school if they had already been vaccinated, so they could be kept physically distanced from you got to do social distancing if you're a teacher. Hi, Ginny. You got a similar story on Discord? Okay, I'll check that out. So you got to do social distancing if you're a teacher that's gotten the vaccine from kids. 2, let the school know if they got the vaccine before the end of the school year, quote, as we cannot allow recently vaccinated people to be near our children until more information is shown. This is bananas. And 3, wait until the school year is over to get vaccinated. Incredible. Teachers who get the vaccine over the summer will not be allowed to return, the letter said, until clinical trials on the vaccine are completed, and then only, quote, if a position is still available at the time. Can they do that? Like is that even legal? Like in terms of like labor law? I mean, good God, you're basically discriminating against people who have gotten a vaccine. Effectively making teachers' employment contingent upon avoiding the vaccine. Ms. Centener, there she is, required the faculty and staff to fill out a, quote, confidential form revealing whether they received a vaccine, and if so, which one and how many doses, or if they plan to get vaccinated. The form requires employees to acknowledge the school will take legal measures needed to protect the students. See, it is the framing of we must protect our students from this horrible, horrible vaccine, from these horrible, horrible teachers who are trying to protect themselves from this like fake disease that doesn't really exist. The form requires employees to, quote, acknowledge the school will take legal measures needed to protect the students if it's determined that I have not answered these questions correctly. So basically, they're like putting them to like a legal, like making them legally answer the question. So it's not about whether or not to get a vaccine; it's whether or not you lied to us about the vaccine. It's like it's like a legal loophole. Wow. Ms. Sentner directed questions about the matter to her publicist, who said in a statement that the school's top priority throughout the pandemic has been to keep students safe. I mean, yeah, of course you have to say that. The statement repeated false claims that vaccinated people, quote, may be transmitting something from their bodies, leading to adverse reproductive issues in women. Quote, we are not 100% sure the COVID injections are safe, and there are too many unknown variables for us to feel comfortable at the current time, the statement said. Like, the fact that they're able to run a private school and get accreditation from the parish should be immediately stripped. And this person should, like, look, I'm not a lock 'em up kind of person, okay? But if you're, like, preaching this, and like people like her and like Kenneth Copeland, they should literally be like locked up about this. Good Lord. The FDA, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the World Health Organization, and many other authorities have concluded that the coronavirus vaccine now in emergency use in the United States are safe and effective. Yeah, no shit. The Sentner Academy opened in 2019 for students in pre-K through 8th grade, promoting itself as a, quote, happiness school. Ooh, God, that sounds like the most horrifying thing possible. Focused on children's mindfulness and emotional intelligence. The school prominently advertises on the website for, quote, medical freedom from mandated vaccines. Whew. Ms. Sentner founded the school with her husband, David Sentner, a technology and electronic highway tolling entrepreneur. Oh, nice. He has found new and innovative ways to charge people money to do microtransactions for driving or whatever. Or, oh my God, what a leech to society this dude is. This dude got rich, just basically like leeching money out of people. Nice. Each has donated heavily to the Republican Party and the Trump election campaign, while giving much smaller sums to local Democrats. In February, the Sentners welcomed special guests to speak at to their students. Robert F. Kennedy, who is the son of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's a prominent anti-vaccine activist. Bobby Kennedy Jr. What a piece of shit. Mr. Kennedy was suspended from Instagram a few days later for promoting COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. This month, the school hosted a Zoom link with Dr. Lawrence Pelevsky, a New York pediatrician frequently cited by anti-vaccine advocates. Oh my God. You had to drop Bobby Kennedy in there at the end, honest, didn't you? Oh, so yeah, these people like Bobby Kennedy should be locked up too. Like American royalty. Like one of the I hate when people say that actually, but like that's how people think about the Kennedys. Like they have like some kind of like they're like the main character family in America or whatever the fuck. And yeah, where is this again? Jenny, I've got some bad news for you, buddy. I got some bad news. This is in Miami, Florida. There's a really like that's where a lot of these a couple of these, I guess, really bad anti-vaxxer like mega churches are at in Miami. I know there's some in Texas. But yeah. Oh my God. Which story were you telling me about, Jenny? Yeah, the similar story. Anti-lockdown protest is London. Okay, let's check it out. Is this from Novara again?
Over the course of the pandemic, there have been quite a few high-profile opponents of lockdowns and public health measures, which we needed to limit the spread of COVID. So Julia Hartley-Brewer come to mind, Toby Young comes to mind, people who were saying, no, these lockdowns are nonsense, it's all false positives, COVID isn't that big a deal, it's just like flu. This, for most of the pandemic, has been a pretty elite pastime in a way. So you've had lots of people agitating for this, often promoted in newspapers like the Daily Telegraph, but the overwhelming majority of the public have been actually very much in favor of lockdowns when they're needed and very much in favor of strong public health measures to resist a disease which they see as a real and significant threat. However, this weekend in London, we saw a protest against lockdowns and against COVID restrictions, which looked quite a lot bigger than anything we've seen before. So we can take a look at the images there. So this isn't just Julia Hartley-Brewer in her talk radio show.
Look at all of those people. We are awake and growing. No to vaccine passports. I'm trying to read the signs.
Studio.
These people, hands off our children.
Number of people. The demonstration was organized.
What about any of this has anything to do with hands being on children? Like, seriously.
Under the banner of Unite for Freedom, and several thousand people turned up. Reporting tended to put it at around 10,000 people, which is fairly significant. The key demands, and which everyone there seemed to agree on, was being against lockdowns and being against vaccine passports. Also, many people there against vaccines in general, or people skeptical about COVID altogether. So it was a bit of a motley crew. I was, I have to say, though, fairly surprised at how diverse it looked. Let's take a look at some footage from the Twitter account Urban Pictures of the event.
We are the people! We are on your side! We have nothing to gain by spreading this information! We are on your side! We are trying to help you! Switch the television! Switch off the television!
Look at these, like...
Resist! Everyone home! Everyone home! No problem, so let's peacefully protest like the peaceful people that we are.
It's similar in the sense that they're denying the reality of COVID. I mean, that's the similarity between that previous story and this story. Morning, top down individuals.
They're not the 99% because actually their views are quite marginal. It's the last thing I heard there. As I say, lots of young people there. Young people, old people. It looked pretty diverse in terms of ages. You also saw there, you might have recognized Piers Corbyn, Jeremy Corbyn's fairly cranky brother, and Lawrence Fox. Both of them, in fact, standing to be London mayor. I think both hovering at around 1%
Oh no! Wait,
the
did he say
polls.
Jeremy Corbyn's brother?
As I say, lots of young people there. Young people, old people. It looked pretty diverse in terms of ages. You also saw there, you might have recognized Piers Corbyn, Jeremy Corbyn's fairly cranky brother, and Lawrence Fox. Both of them, in fact, standing to be London mayor. I think both hovering at around 1% in the polls. You might have spotted some of the banners there. There's one saying no masks.
I didn't realize that Corbyn had an idiot brother. That's awesome.
Downs, obviously fairly incoherent because you're going to have a lockdown unless you have masks and vaccines. I suppose these people were never famed for their coherence. Some other signs that we sort of picked out when we slowed it down. Someone had written "Plandemic, deep state cabal, pedophiles, we see you." So that's clearly
that is sort of straight up QAnon talk.
QAnon type right-wing conspiracy theory via the United States. And another one had a picture of Boris Johnson and a vaccine. It said, "Why are we taking health advice from people who believe in overpopulation?" It's not actually an idea I could particularly associate with Boris. I was thinking more David Attenborough when I saw that. But I think that's more about some big mass conspiracy, the establishment. We can go to some of the main.
Sometimes the way that the absolute total incoherence of the sort of claims that these conspiracy theories roll out, just you don't know where to start to unravel what the problem is. It's so overwhelming that you kind of just don't even bother. It's just it's basically a short, quippy, wrong, and completely incoherent premise that they'll throw at you, like you just said, like the overpopulation thing. And so you're just I feel like I'm gonna just my brain is gonna short circuit just by thinking about what you just told me. So I'm not gonna address it.
Main characters to look at what they're saying about these things, because I think actually the most significant question here is vaccines. The lockdown's almost ending anyway, right? So there is a case of how slowly do we remove the restrictions, but is this an anti-vax movement? That's probably what's most important in terms of public health. Lawrence Fox on this one, who we just mentioned. So he tweeted last week, sharing a picture of his invite to get a vaccine. He says, "I'm busy that day, I'm afraid. There's no need to vaccinate the healthy, much as there was no need to quarantine the healthy. This stupidity needs to stop." Now, again, that's the kind of attitude which is going to leave us in lockdowns much longer.
Yeah, for forever. We're going to be in lockdown forever.
Ash, we have become used on this show to sort of discussing the Julia Hartley Brewers of the world, the sort of lockdown skeptics who are often paid by Rupert Murdoch or by big, often sort of landlord interests, people who were desperate to get people back to the office. But it hasn't seemed like a popular movement. But that did look both quite big and quite, I don't want to say representative. I mean, it looked mainly white people from the video I showed, but not only, and that the age spectrum seemed quite significant. Do you think it was significant what we saw?
I mean, let's just deal with the Lawrence Fox thing head on,
okay,
all right?
Yeah.
Because the man is a fucking numpty. I'm sorry. There's no need to vaccinate the healthy. What do you think a vaccine is?
Did you call him a numpty? What is a numpty?
Give the smallpox vaccine to people who already had it. That's not how vaccines work. You literally vaccinate the healthy. That's what you're supposed to do. Anyway, I digress. It's just, I think when you see somebody who has permanently damaged the bit of their brain which is capable of processing shame, and they can just say any old shit, it does wind me up, which is precisely what he wants. So there we go. Who's the real loser here? It's me.
A fucking numpty. I'm gonna start calling people numpties. I don't know what it means, but I'm gonna start calling people. I should Google that. Scotland's favorite word? Oh, somebody who by speech or action demonstrates a lack of knowledge or misconception of a particular subject. Oh yeah, that sounds like a very useful word.
If you're looking at the kind of crowds that we saw at the weekend at the anti-lockdown protests, and you try and assign one explanatory factor, you're always going to be missing out a whole load of stuff. Now, obviously, these aren't people with whom I share values, politics, and I think most, all of them really have been misled by false and unreliable and sometimes downright dangerous and conspiratorial information. However, I think that there are lots of different things which have driven people there. I think one aspect of it is to do with civil liberties. I think there have been a lot of people, including people who are very well regarded, who, for instance, are part of the left, who have worked on civil liberties campaign, who've always seen the kind of, coronavirus powers as being potentially dangerous. Which ones of those will become permanent? Which ones of those will result in some kind of government overreach? So there's some really legitimate fears there, which then get turned into, I think, and distorted into a wider, completely blanket anti-lockdown point of view, and even a conspiratorial one.
That is the one thing that they can cohere about, is they're actually organizing around things that people do genuinely hate. Like, I hate the fact that people, we had in the early stages of COVID lockdowns, but I mean obviously that's not something I'm going to go out and cause a problem about, because it's there for a reason. It's there for safety. But the idea that people are going to sort of just cause organize and fight against that is a huge issue.
that in there somewhere is a seed of plausibility, if not truth. So I think that that's one thing that's driving people there. I think another, and this explains, for a lot of young people why they're there, is that there's a complete, I think, lack of trust in shared sources of information. The public sphere has been, I think, utterly degraded, not just by social media and, online fake news, but by people who consider their jobs as journalists fundamentally to be holding the public to higher standards of accountability than those with power. I think what that's resulted in is a sense of, well, who's looking out for us? You can't trust anybody. I'll make my own mind up. And again, that is something which I think can make people quite vulnerable to misinformation and conspiratorial thinking. It doesn't mean that there's not, again, a seed of plausibility or a seed of truth there in terms of what led to that breakdown in trust, but it can leave people in a really, really vulnerable position. And then I think you've got this broader mood, which is, I think, a state of denial. And it's something that we saw from the very start of this pandemic in a much milder way. It was something that I kind of experienced myself, because think about it, Michael, for our lives, right, living here in this country, the age that we are, what impact have pandemics had on our lives before, right? Zero. When it came to things like SARS or bird flu, because we were so insulated from it here in the West, it was almost like it was kind of a dud. So we didn't register it in the same way. It never felt truly real in the same way. And so I think that there was this kind of base level of disbelieving, which made it hard to adjust to the reality and the seriousness of just what it is we were dealing with. Now, most people adjusted to that really quickly and got their heads around what was happening. But I think for a lot of people, that sense of disbelieving, that sense of unrealness persevered. And again, it was something which made them particularly vulnerable and amenable to more conspiratorial ways of dismissing the whole thing. And it comes from a place of, well, I don't want to change my life to accommodate this new shared social reality. So why should I?
And she's exactly right. Like part of the reason, and this is literally what children do. They will determine, they've already made their conclusion of what they want the outcome of the situation would be. So they just sort of organize what their support for that sort of claim for why that's the right thing to do. They just make that up. The facts in reality are not really an important part of it, other than like, this is how I'm justifying it, and I will lie to myself and say that I believe these things just so that I can sort of like defend in my own mind what like the not wanting to wear a mask, or not wanting to get vaccinated, or not staying at home, or all of these other things.
I would rather that this wasn't happening. And in a consumerist society, you're quite used to being able to go, I want this, I don't want this, and that being what you do or do not get. So I think that that's another thing which drives people being out there. So yeah, I think a lot of these people are dangerous. I think they're wrong-headed. I completely disagree with them. But I think that there's a spectrum almost, and people don't start off being complete cranks. I think that there are seeds of plausibility which get amplified, distorted, warped, built on, and indeed then they blossom into something which is a lot more harmful.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty spot on. Yeah. Yikes. What else we got here? Oh, we're coming up on time, but NPR affiliate reporter killed by a stray bullet in Kansas City. Nice. There was, I guess, this. Where's that? Oh yeah, I do want to put this too, just to kind of like continue on our theme of really kind of screwball things today. Here is Tucker Carlson. He is got a problem with kids wearing masks in public, and he thinks you should call CPS.
Masks on a tennis court. Future generations will...
Why is it pink? What's going on with that?
Masks on a tennis court.
That's just the way it is.
Future generations will mock us for this, but we allowed it. We let
Can you believe it? We allowed masks on a tennis court. What next?
Wreck the country in exchange for promising to protect us from a virus that 99% of us would have survived anyway. What were we thinking? Masks have always been incompatible with a free society. We used to know that. Masks strip people of their identity as individuals. Masks transform people from citizens into drones. They isolate us. They alienate us. They shut us off from one another. Masks prevent intimacy and human contact. If I can't see your face, I can't know you. Masks are for the guilty.
What the fuck is up with this dime store psychology by Tucker Carlson here? Like I totally can't. You can't know somebody if they're wearing a mask. What? Masks are for the guilty?
They're signifiers of shame and submission. Until recently, many jurisdictions had laws against wearing masks in public. Only Klansmen and armed robbers wore masks. The rest of us showed our face. We were free people.
This motherfucker, like in 1917, when the flu happened, the so-called Spanish flu, like literally the response was to put on masks. Like this dude is just literally making up bullshit.
But then we gave in to the demands of people like Eric Garcetti, and because we did give in,
can you believe
this grotesque version of Halloween went on for more than a year, and it's still going on. Not even Tony Fauci still pretends that masks are medically necessary. Instead, masks are purely a sign of political obedience, like Kim Il-sung pins in Pyongyang. We wear them because we have to. The only people who wear masks voluntarily outside are zealots and neurotics. How neurotic are they? Well, we know. A Pew survey from last March found that 64% of white Americans who classify themselves as liberal or very liberal have been diagnosed with an actual mental health condition. And you see them everywhere when you walk down the street in any major city. If you
I do agree the libs are insane.
Go on foot from Union Station to the Capitol, for example, in Washington without wearing a mask, angry Biden voters will snort at you in judgment. How could you? They're saying.
We're in the middle of a pandemic, dude.
From behind the gauze. How could you? That's the question we should be asking of them in return. The rest of us should be snorting at them first. They're the aggressors. It's our job to brush them back and restore the society we were born in. So the next time you see someone in a mask on the sidewalk or on the bike path, do not hesitate. Ask politely but firmly, would you please take off your mask?
Oh, I can't wait for somebody to do that to me. I'm just going to wear a mask everywhere now. And I can't wait till somebody asks me politely but firmly to take off my mask.
Science shows there is no reason for you to be wearing it. Your mask is making me uncomfortable.
Wear a mask in public to fucking trigger the fucking chuds.
We should do that, and we should keep doing it until wearing a mask outside is roughly as socially accepted as lighting a Marlboro in an elevator. It's repulsive. Don't do it around other people.
By the way, he's throwing in one of it's like you make it as socially unacceptable as smoking a marble in an elevator. Yeah, he's still pissed that you can't smoke inside anymore. There's no that's what he's saying here.
Don't do it around other people. That's the message we should send because it's true. As for forcing children to wear masks outside, that should be illegal. Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know what? Wearing a mask in the middle of a pandemic to prevent spread of that disease, especially when most kids aren't vaccinated, it is the same as beating the shit out of your kid in Walmart. He's right. That does make sense.
Contact Child Protective Services.
Call
Keep calling
CPS
until someone arrives. What you're looking at is abuse. It's child abuse, and you are morally obligated to attempt to prevent it. If it's your own children being abused, then act accordingly. Let's say your kid's school emailed you to announce that every day after lunch, your sixth grader was going to get punched in the face by a teacher.
What the fuck is he on about?
That's precisely how you should respond when they tell you that your kids have to wear masks on the soccer field. That is unacceptable. It is dangerous, and we should act like it because it is.
What? Like, he's literally saying having kids wear masks is like kids getting the shit kicked out of them after lunch. Man, this dude, I mean, like, there was a point where, like, I guess I thought that he was actually like a threat in terms of I don't know why the video is pink. In terms of like putting together some kind of like following up of Trump, like populist movement or whatever. But I mean, when things like this happens, it's just so genuinely psychotic that, like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe people do buy that. Maybe they do. But I mean, does this kind of thing gonna like stand up to any kind of like high scale scrutiny? I don't know. I sure as hell hope not. Anyway, I think that's gonna be it for today. Check out our episode with Ben Burgess. We have the stream up on YouTube as well. He came on last night. You can also check out our website, goodmorningcomrade.com. I'm not sure if Andrea's going today. I don't see her page have anything up, but she does. Yeah, check her out. And she's live. And also, hit us up at patreon.com/goodmorningcomrade. Give us a little bit of cash, get us rolling, because we're trying to get this thing off the ground, you know. All right, folks. Bye.